Hello, everybody, and welcome to the League of Legends Amateur Open Week 8. We are on day 2 of the tournament. The first game we're going to be doing is Beach Kings Gaming versus XMS. I am your caster, Slouch, and I'm joined here with...
Muddy Mudkiff, and it's great to be back again for another exciting day of the Amateur Open. We have two great teams coming up here. Who do we have today, Slouch?
So, on the blue corner, we've got Beach Kings Gaming, and on the red corner, we have XMS Gaming.
Yeah, Beach Kings Gaming are a returning team. I'm pretty sure they've been in, I want to say 6 or 7 tournaments, so it's great to see them back again.
Yeah, really good to have them back. But we are into the pick and ban phase here. So right away we see Rumble, Vayne, and Blitzcrank being banned out here. I think the Rumble ban might be targeted. I'm not completely sure about that. But Vayne and Blitzcrank, some pretty typical bans coming up from Beach King. Whereas XMS have gone for the Shen, Thresh, and Twisted Fate. So a lot of that global pressure being relieved, as well as that really devastating Thresh. And Squirt Stain immediately locking in Zyra.
Yeah, we're seeing that Zac and Sona being hovered over right now for, I believe, XMS. No. Yeah, it's XMS. Yeah, my bad there. So, Squirt Stain is a new player to BKG. We haven't seen too much of him, but not quite sure who's out. Lollicos, that's right. Supposedly he died.
Like MIA.
Yeah, apparently
No,
supposedly he
didn't
died.
actually die. No, he's just gone MIA. Nobody really knows where he went. So he is MIA. So yeah, we do have the Sona and Zac pick coming out from XMS here. So that really tells me they're really looking for that more, I guess, team fight oriented thing where they want to do that kind of long range surprise engagement coming out from that Zac, and then combo in with the Sona Crescendo, and then whatever else their team's gonna come out with. So I'm gonna expect kind of picks maybe like a Wukong or Kennen or something like that. That's kind of what I'm gonna be expecting from XMS here.
And Manihiki locking in that Ari. I'm so excited to see him playing that. We don't think we've seen too much of his Ari, but I'm sure he's going to be able to play that really well. He is a very mechanically skilled mid laner, and I honestly think that you could put him on any champion, and he would do well in his lane. He is not a very crushing mid laner. He doesn't stomp his opponents. He gets the job done, and he can help his team a lot when it comes time for those team fights and that dragon control.
Yeah, we also have Jarvan being locked in by Kenwin Jones here for the jungle. So really popular, strong jungle pick, has a lot of that lockdown potential. Has that kind of, he can do a lot of different things in terms of team fights when that point rolls around. He can peel off for his carry. He can just kind of lock down the enemy team if he needs to. So he's a really versatile jungler and can really just fill up a lot of roles. Meanwhile, we have Santa locking in Nasus.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that's gonna be a top lane Nasus because Santa is the top laner for XMS, but there could be some swaps going around that we really don't know, so it's a little early to say on that yet. Sick is gonna lock in that Orianna, and I'm really interested to see how he's gonna bring this into his team. Yesterday, Sick was on Lissandra up against Russ is Looking for a Date, who he went up, I believe it was Plushy Mikey's Lux, and Lissandra didn't work out very well for him. Lissandra's a champion that does exceptionally well during the early game laning phase with her Q. She's able to poke down really well from long ranges, and her E and her W, that frozen and the frozen tomb, her ultimate, being able to lock down opponents. She has some really high burst potential early on in lane, but now we're seeing him come out with more of a utility mid laner in Orianna, using that command dissonance to be able to speed up her opponents. The command protect grants a really nice shield, and it can keep whoever's going to be on Zac alive very well when they do decide to go for those engages. Not to mention the command shockwave that can come out to completely disrupt Beach Kings Gaming.
Yeah, so we do have that kind of press R to win wombo combo so far coming out from XMS. Not sure who their AD carry pick is going to be just yet, but yeah, with the combination of Let's Bounce, Crescendo, and Shockwave, if landed properly, it's going to be pretty devastating. But on top of that, Kevin Jones has that Jarvan. So now, in this position, he needs to be extremely careful when he decides to use Cataclysm, especially against something like an Orianna, because if he Cataclysms at a bad time, locking in some of his teammates with him, and Orianna decides to use that to command Shockwave, it could actually be more detrimental to his team than to the enemy team.
Yeah, and we take a look at Matsing right now. He is normally the support player for Beach Kings Gaming, but right now he's sitting on Cleanse and Teleport. So I'm not quite sure if he's just looking to troll us or he might be going for a legitimate strategy. And we are going to see Kirito locking in that Caitlyn, and the swaps are going around right now. So we'll see what these two teams are really going to go for. And Manihiki's on Ashe. That's a lie. He didn't lie to me. I hope he's not playing with me right now. But either way, I would really expect some great play coming out from Beach Kings Gaming, really with whatever comp they decide to go with. We did see last week in the finals, they did bring out that all-support comp around Vayne, who was being played by Lolacost at the time. It didn't quite work out too well for them, but they mentioned to me they had the right mindset going into it. They did look at it as a legitimate team comp for them, and it had worked for them in the past. But last week it didn't quite work out so well in the finals there.
Yeah, so yeah, I do remember that game actually. They did go in very strong, and then the game just kind of went a little bit against them in that sense. But I mean, this is how the game works. It's all about the momentum, and sometimes losing the momentum can be pretty devastating. So we're actually going to be seeing Manihiki as the AD carry here. So you were wrong.
Yeah,
He was a liar. Manihiki is a big liar. But we are actually seeing a top lane Zac this time. So it is going to be a jungle Nasus. So that's what I was a little bit concerned about, because like top lane Nasus can get the farm he needs on that queue, and he can just be devastating. But if he's against a super aggressive lane, especially considering he picked so early versus when they didn't know what their top laner was probably going to be, he was risking going into a lane that could have just devastated him and zoned him away from a lot of creeps. Whereas in the jungle now, because of a recent patch, anytime he hits a larger minion with his Siphoning Strike and gets the kill with it, it counts as 3 stacks. So yeah, it's most likely to see Nasus in the jungle, and Zac is becoming a really popular top laner now.
yeah. I really like the Zac pick. I really think that he meshes in really well with this Wombo combo comp, especially if XMS is forced to go on the defensive. That Let's Bounce and the Elastic Slingshot can provide some really good CC if BKG are going to look to do some aggressive tower diving, or if they're going to try and pick off members of XMS in their jungle. Also, Zac is a very strong laner. I really like to think of him as an all-around great champ. He has some good initiate, and the sustain in lane is huge, and that tankiness that he can provide to a team is huge. He can be a really strong meat shield while still dishing out some decent damage with his W. I believe it does percent health damage, and even if he doesn't build any AP on that's percent health damage, and it's gonna do a lot through all stages of the game.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it is a percent max health nuke. Really low cooldown. It's actually an AoE percent max health nuke. So if you can get into the middle of people, it can really hurt a lot too. Plus, he does build extremely tanky. So he is going to be he becomes a really big late game nuisance. And if he does have some AP on him, then Let's Bounce does a huge amount of damage coupled in with Unstable Matter. So what I do want to point out is that XMS is they have this super good front line that can come out for Kirito here. So Kirito doesn't really need to be too worried about waiting a little while to start pumping out his DPS. He knows that if he gets jumped on, there's so much on that team to push him away that he can just keep fighting. Whereas on Beach King Gaming, Manihiki has to be really careful when he decides to start showing his face, because they also have the kind of comp that will jump and dive straight into him the moment they see him and lock him down. So if he shows his face too early, I don't think his teams really has kind of the comp to save him. They're really just kind of the all-in, dive in towards the enemy comp and pick off their high priority targets and kind of hope our DPS doesn't screw up kind of composition.
Yeah, so we just got past the 3-minute delay here. We're just about to get into Champ Select. And do you know what time it is, Slouch?
I think it's time for the skin intimidation factor.
And just gonna wait a second here for it to load up.
Waiting. We're getting in here.
Yeah, we do have Beach Kings Gaming, a returning team to the Amateur Open on the blue side, and XMS Gaming, also a returning team on the purple side. So, skin intimidation.
Alright, I'm still loading in some, but so far on XMS, I can see Special Weapons Zac, Bladecraft Orianna, and Sheriff Caitlyn. Yeah, that's all the skins we have on XMS Gaming. Whereas on Beach King Gaming, we have Woad Ash and Volcanic Wukong. So, Skin Intimidation going over to XMS.
I'm a really big fan of that special weapon, Zach. A lot of people like to say it's a bad skin. It's a purple blob. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, I guess I don't want to really get on Riot's bad side here, but they did promise, you know, higher quality skins, and I don't know. That was just kind of a recolor. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. I do love Zac as a champion. Really awesome champion design. Really fun to play, but I don't know. I'm not too big of a fan of the skin itself.
So I'm honestly really curious to see what these teams are gonna do for level 1. Beach Kings Gaming aren't really known for their early aggression, like level 1, level 2, or level 3 tower dives even. But if they're able to pull a fast one here on XMS, they could really change the flow of this game very early on, and they could transition that well into dragons and into mid-game team fights. And Manihiki on Ashe right now, I'm really hoping to see a lot of enchanted crystal arrows going down that are going to be able to start those fights for BKG. If he's able to land one of those, the follow-up from Squirt Stain on Zyra, Kenwin on Jarvan, Tiny Tanker even on Wukong, Matsing on Ahri, pretty much everyone on BKG right here could follow up very well on an enchanted crystal arrow, and it could be huge for them. Just starting up a team fight in the enemy jungle or anywhere on the map for that matter. We aren't seeing any teleports come out, so there's not going to be any global pressure coming out. But
Minus Enchanted Crystal Arrow.
Yeah, that's true. I really think that if the mid laners, however, are able to get some roam down, it could really help either the top or the bottom laners, depending on which lane they really want to help out with this.
Yeah, in terms of level 1 team fights here, though, it definitely is going to be going in favor to Beach King. Just because, like, they have so much burst damage, they have a little bit of CC. So Zyra is most likely going to be starting Grasping Roots. Yes, she does have a point in that. Now, and yes, Ahri did start Charm as well. So that's a pretty typical startup for these two champions. But just in terms of the potential they could do in terms of damage, Manihiki gets that level 1 crit right away. So that's going to be a pretty decent amount of damage just coming out from that level 1 auto attack. Also, most likely going to be leveling up Bali, so that's more damage. And then Tiny Tanker on Wukong can do a surprising amount of early game burst, so if they do decide to go in for something, it can hurt. But we do see a little bit of aggression coming out from XMS, hanging out over by the red brush.
And yeah, they are being spotted right now on that ward that was put down by BKG. I'm interested if they're going to try and capitalize on this. They are making their way over. They could, if they're able to land a charm onto one member of XMS, they could easily get some burst down. You talked about that crit and the volley coming out from Manihiki will do a lot of early game damage. And oh, we might see them walk into each other. XMS is walking into the red buff brush. We might see something come out here. They are being spotted by all members of BKG right here.
Yeah, all 5-on-5 just sitting right here in the red jungle. Just kind of, they don't, sorry, XMS doesn't realize that Beach Kings know they're there. They're just kind of having a standoff, waiting in this brush here. Minions have spawned, and the camp is about to spawn as well. Santa looking like he's going to recall now. Kirito actually putting a trap down in the bush. They are getting spotted here. Now lots of damage going down. XMS forced to flash. Flash is being burnt everywhere. Tiny Taker jumping in now. Now Riven being forced to flash here. Tiny Taker will drop down to Santa for first blood. Kenway and Jones in a little bit of a tricky spot here. Ignite going down onto him. Another kill going down. XMS picking up another kill here. Now Hybrid actually getting hit out by a charm, and he will fall as well. Lots of kills being exchanged here. And a lot of summoner spells.
Yeah, that's a 2-for-1 right now for XMS. They did manage to pick off Tiny Tanker on Wukong, Kenwin Jones on Jarvan, and that's going to set Kenwin a bit behind. He's going to be about 30 to 40 seconds late to his first jungle camp, and that could be huge for XMS. However, we are seeing Topless Riven on Nasus right now recalling, and he is going to go back to his jungle, so it should be about the same. However, that could have been a really big advantage for XMS if Kenwin was going to be set a bit behind, because Topless Riven would be able to clear his camps faster. He would have been able to get some earlier ganks before Kenwin, and that could have been really huge for XMS. All in all, however, that was some great positioning by BKG to get that ward in there during the level 1. They weren't, however, able to come on top of that one, even though they did. They did have the initial, they did initially spot them out. And like you said, there were quite a few summoner spells being used there. All ignites were burnt from BKG, as well as all the ignites from XMS also, and numerous flashes going down as well.
Yeah, so that is a lot of summoner spells being burnt. If the junglers were able to keep track of which ones exactly were burnt, they might be able to take advantage early on into in terms of ganks here. But we do see actually Kenwin Jones is a little bit behind in terms of his jungle. He was forced to use Smite onto his blue buff, didn't want to get Matsing behind in his lane. So yeah, he's forced to be a little bit behind. Orianna did jump over to help out Topless Driven on his own blue buff. So he's a little bit ahead, already starting out his red buff. Kenwin Jones just starting to head there now.
I really feel right now that if Kenwin Jones is able to get some good strong ganks off for his team, it could really help. I think BKG right now does have a stronger Dragon team. That's excluding the top laners, because they're most likely will be up there when it does come down to do Dragon, but you really never know. The assassination potential from Matsing at any point in the game is huge. Even early on, Ari can do a lot of damage to squishy targets. We are seeing Santa go a bit aggressive here in the top lane, though, exchanging some blows with Tiny Tanker.
Yeah, they are just trading it off here. Santa does have a lot of passive health regen. He also has that Rejuve pendant, plus the Cell Division passive. We'll be able to keep him fairly safe in that lane. He is chugging back a health potion now, so looking like he's gonna be okay here. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, actually, XMS Sec getting knocked up by Kenwin Jones, taking a whole lot of damage here, using that command shield and dissonance to get himself away from that situation, and will be able to walk away.
A big thing from junglers in the early levels is that red buff. If they're able to get that slow, you're pretty much going to be able to guarantee a flash or maybe even secure a kill. Especially when you're a jungler like Jarvan, who does deal a significant amount of damage early on. That can really help his team if he is able to get off those strong ganks. And we are seeing right now Topless Riven on Nasus, roaming around into that mid lane. He might try to get something off onto Matsing here.
Yeah, Matsing doesn't have his ultimate just yet. Flash isn't even available at this time, so he might be in a little bit of trouble here. Wither going down, but XMS is a little bit far away. Charm going down onto Topless Riven, getting a good amount of damage with that command dissonance right onto Matsing, but yeah, they will be able to walk away from that one as well. Not a crazy amount of hearts CC able to come out from Sick just yet.
Yeah, Matsing right now is only level 5. If I'm not mistaken, he is maxing that Orb of Deception first, and as you just saw, it actually did some decent damage to Sick on Orianna. Sick doesn't have any items right now, and he might have started the all ward, all pots start, and he's not going to have any early magic resist, from a chalice at the moment. So that Orb of Deception is going to hit pretty hard. It does deal true damage, and we are seeing Kirito actually getting some decent damage on a Squirt Stain here with that headshot.
Yeah, Kirito playing that Caitlyn, really just a really strong lane bully, has got that extremely good early game, incredible amount of range. Ashe is the second AD carry, has the closest amount of range next to him. Actually, Kenwin Jones getting down here, trying to get that gank off. Kirito now getting knocked up over by Kenwin Jones, popping that barrier, using that 90 caliber to try and run away, but the red buff is ticking down on him, keeping him slow. Doesn't look like the rest of the team is able to catch up. Now Kenwin Jones turning over to Hybrid just to get a little bit of damage down, using those red buff procs, try and get his laners a little bit more of an advantage in this lane. Actually turning back in here, Kirito's still in a little bit of trouble, but the red buff actually just wore off on Kenwin, so able to walk away from that one.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, there was only a barrier burn there by Kirito, and I guess you could say it's a successful gank. He probably would have liked to get the flash out of him, because then Manihiki and Squirtstain in that bottom lane would have been able to be a bit more aggressive, and they could have potentially been able to secure a kill had that flash been down. We are seeing Topless Riven and Santa in that top lane just gonna go ahead and recall, and right now Topless Riven hasn't been able to get too many good ganks off. He has been roaming around the map just a bit. He was up in top lane. Nothing was burned out from Tiny Tanker on Wukong here. He's just going to drop a ward into that top lane brush. He doesn't want to get lane ganked because Wukong right now is a fairly mobile champion with that decoy. However, if he's gonna get jumped on by a Nasus, that Wither is gonna keep him slowed to the point where the decoy is just gonna expire. He's gonna come back up. He's gonna be able to be spotted by XMS, and it could be a secured kill. And this early on in the game, that's not something you want on Zac. Zac's already a hard enough champion to kill in lane. Granting him a kill where he's able to pick up some extra health regen, or some extra resistances, that's huge for him.
Yeah, that is big. He actually has gone back and picked up that Giant's belt, so it's going to be really tanky in that lane. Going to be a lot harder for Tiny Tanker to kill him now, so it's going to be interesting. We actually see Topless Riven heading over towards the bush. Tiny Tanker did just put the ward down into that trapper, so he is aware that Topless Riven is walking by there, so he will be able to be a little bit safe in terms of that.
We're seeing the bot lane right now. If we take a look at the CS differences right now, 62 coming out from Kirito and 49 for Manihiki. That just goes to show really the range right now of Caitlyn, and the poke potential coming out from Sona is really huge. Zyra and Ashe. Oh, and we are seeing Santa go down in the top lane. Oh, nothing really going to come out of that, but Tiny actually going to exchange some blows back onto him. But as I was saying about the bot lane, Manihiki and Squirtstain don't have any sustain to them. Zyra is a champion that can easily lock up one or two members of XMS with that Grasping Roots, as well as the Stranglethorns once she does hit 6. However, Hybrid right now on Sona is able to use that Aria of Perseverance to be able to keep Kirito sustained. And the range that comes out from Kirito and Caitlyn is also huge for him in keeping the pressure up, as well as that Piltover Peacemaker being able to put down a lot of poke damage.
Yeah, on top of that, because of that level 1 engagement, Manihiki was forced to actually recall and ended up back into the lane late. Kirito just went straight to the lane right after that level 1 engagement and started farming right away. So by the time that Manihiki actually got into lane, Kirito was sitting at about 20 farm, and Manihiki was sitting at like 1 or 2. So he did get that huge lead early on, and now with the zoning potential that can come out from Kirito, it's just even more devastating. We actually see Kenwin Jones hanging around the side here once again. He did manage to get that red buff back up. So he is kind of just hanging around here. He hasn't been spotted out by any wards. Manihiki actually getting a little bit aggressive here, taking some free poke, getting a little bit of a bad trade. Looks like he's trying to lure Kirito over to the side here, but I don't think they're taking the bait.
Kirito is getting a bit aggressive here. He probably knows something.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, actually, Tiny Tanker in a little bit of trouble. You're getting dove underneath this tower. Topless Riven actually trying to get down. Let's bounce being used with the Cyclone, though. Ignite going down, and it will finish off Tiny Tanker underneath his own turret.
That's a kill going down for Topless Riven on Nasus right here. That could really help him towards building probably an Aegis. He might go for an Aegis first into a Lock of the Iron Solari. That could help him quite a bit. And we are seeing the Enchanted Crystal Arrow going down the bottom.
Yeah, Crescendo being used to Manihiki, using a lot of damage, keeping him locked down, but the Cataclysm dropping down onto Hybrid, doing a whole lot of damage. Now Kirito in a little bit of trouble, Exhaust going down, but Kevin Jones does land onto a trap here, turns around, gets the kill out to Manihiki, flashes away, but the knock-up will be enough to finish off Kirito.
Meanwhile, mid lane, we are seeing
XMS now, actually, a lot of aggression going down. XMS getting dropped down super low here. Spirit Rush was used at that point, but yeah, he was able to walk away from that safely. Shockwave probably being able to lock down Matt Singh from going on to any further aggression. So good play coming down, being able to keep XMS 6 safe. So we actually did see the first turret of the game going down at the top lane. Tiny Tanker losing the turret. So that was the first turret for XMS, and it has built them up a pretty substantial lead. We are looking at about not substantial, but pretty decent amount of gold this early into the game. So we are sitting at about a 2k gold lead coming out for XMS Gaming.
Yeah, right now, Nasus is a champion that really wants to push. He wants to either keep lanes pushed up towards the middle if they are being aggressed by the opposing laner, or he wants to push towers down early, and that's what Topless Riven really did there on Nasus. So we are seeing XMS picking up the first dragon of the game. They are getting a decent amount of gold, global gold right here. They were able to pick up that top turret like we said, and now they just picked up the dragon. So this could really help them when it does come time for those mid to late game team fights that will have a bit of a gold advantage. That could really help in completing some major items, especially if Kirito's able to pick up either a Phantom Dance or a Static Shiv or some form of attack speed. He does have the Bloodthirster right now. He's going to be doing a lot of damage in those team fights. And we are seeing Enchanted Crystal Arrow in that bottom lane.
Yeah, Hybrid actually getting hit out by that Conjure Crusader. Switzerland actually flashing in just to use those Stranglethorns. Hybrid getting locked down a whole lot here. Actually, just barely escaping here. No, the Demacian standard won't come down. Kevin Jones flashing, trying to get in there, but now taking some tower shots. Kirito managing to turn that around and keep his allies safe. But now we have a lot of movement coming down towards the bot lane here. XMS Sick coming around now. Ari is here to help out, but Manny Hiki and Squirtstain are extremely low. So this is a little bit of a dangerous spot here. Looks like Sick is heading back over to that mid lane, but Topless Riven is still around here, so this could be a bit of a dangerous position. Lots of wave clear coming out from Matt Singh, but yeah, looks like they will be able to keep this safe. Something I did want to point out while you're talking about that is Matt Singh has actually opted to go for a triple Doran's build. What do you think about that?
Matsing right now on Ari is able to do a lot of damage. That triple Doran is going to help a lot, granting him around 180 health, 45 ability power, and a lot of mana regen. Doran's Ring grants you 5 or 3 mana every time you kill a minion. Yeah, 5. So if he's able to pick up a minion kill with just the last hit, that's 15 mana going right back to him, and then he can use that towards an Orb of Deception to try and poke down XMS Sick before he does decide to go in for an engagement with the Spirit Rush and that Charm and the Foxfire. And I really think right now he's looking to go for that strong kill potential in lane, or even that roam potential. If he's able to get those high damage ganks off in unison with those enchanted crystal arrows, it could be huge for them. And we are seeing right now, though, Topless Riven on Nats as he's roaming around in the BKG jungle. He's just going to poke his head around here. He's not going to pick up too much. He's going to get spotted out by that Hawkshot, though. And Matt Singh is going to make his way down there. No, nothing's really going to come out of that.
Yeah, just taking a little bit aggressive here, walking around in that jungle. Guessing he wasn't really keeping too much of an eye onto Kenwin Jones. I didn't realize that the red buff was picked up not long ago, as it was transferred over towards that bot lane onto Kirito for a little while, because he did pick up that kill on that gank. So yeah, a little bit of aggression going down. Just looking to see what he could steal away, but no, it does go back over to his own side here. Looks like the blue buff transfer going to be heading over for XMS 6. So they have secured all of their blue buffs. That should be the third blue buff for that they've come out with now. Both the two of them, sorry, going over to XMS 6 now.
One thing I really want to take a look at right now is this top lane. Tiny Tanker on Wukong hasn't built any damage. Wukong is a champion. To get the maximum effectiveness, he wants to be able to get down that Nimbus Strike, Nimbus Cloud, and that Q and the Cyclone to be able to deal lots of damage onto pretty much any champion he really wants on XMS. But he was forced to go defensive. Santa on Zac right now is playing extremely aggressive, and the damage from him is just too much for Tiny Tanker to handle. So Tiny Tanker was forced to go for that early Giants belt and the Merc Treads. We are seeing an engagement down on top, though. Santa's gonna use that Let's Bounce. He's gonna stick onto Tiny Tanker. The Stretching Strike is gonna be able to get that slowdown, and he's just gonna back off that one.
Actually, Tiny Tanker made a really good play there. He used that decoy at a perfect timing, and Santa actually ended up igniting the decoy.
Meanwhile, bottom lane.
The bottom lane, the Kinetic Crystal Arrow going down here. Kenwin Jones trying to get the knockup. Cataclysm dropping down, but he gets crescendoed underneath the tower. Huge amounts of damage, but Hybrid will also fall. So 1-for-1 trade coming out. Kirito actually getting locked down by the Stranglethorns, but he is really low now. Barrier being used by Manny Hiki to keep Squirtson alive by absorbing in the ace in the hole, and then Flash coming down from Kirito. He does have that red buff, so looks like the Force Flash. Matt Singh now coming in around the side, but Kirito doing a whole lot of damage back to him. Barrier being popped now. Matt Singh in a little bit of trouble. Does manage to pick up the kill, but now Topless Riven is here. Looks like Matt Singh is in a little bit of trouble, trying to kite around the bush, trying to get away, but Topless Riven does manage to pick up that kill.
Yeah, Kirito had that red buff, so he was able to stick on to Manny Hiki and Squirtstain very well. He got a lot of damage down, and another kill for him there would have been huge. He is 3-2-3 right now. He's about 40 CS ahead of his lane opponent, Manny Hiki. And right now he is sitting on 6,000 total gold. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, he has the most in the game right now. We are seeing Kevin Jones going aggressive down in the mid lane. Gonna do a little bit of damage onto Sick. But right now, Sick on Orianna has that Haunting Guise and a Negatron Cloak, as well as those Sork Shoes for his Tier 2 boots option. He's gonna be able to do some moderate damage right now. He might look to build that.
Sorry, meanwhile on the bottom lane here, Squirtson actually getting a little bit caught out now. The Wither was going down as he was trying to check out that Tri-Brush. doing a lot of damage with that siphoning strike, plus the poke damage from Hybrid, and is forced to flash over the wall just to keep himself safe. So flash coming down, but now Manihiki looks like might be in a little bit of trouble here. Topless Riven actually going in towards the mid lane. Kevin Jones is very low. Tiny Tanker has actually come down from top lane to help out with this situation. A lot of pushing coming down onto the mid lane here. The turret is actually already down, so looks like they're just gonna have a little bit of a dance off here in the mid lane.
If we take a look right now at this, oh, actually, Enchanted Crystal Arrow
going down onto Sikira, getting locked down inside the middle of the enemy team, and it's almost gonna melt instantly. But now it looks like the Dragon has just respawned. Cameron Jones is a little bit low, so this might be a little bit of risky play if they try to go for it here. Kirito actually getting caught down. Stranglethorns, Cataclysm dropping down, doing huge amounts of damage here. But Cameron Jones will drop down. Exhaust going down onto the Caitlyn. Huge amounts of damage. Knockup coming down from Tiny Tanker, locking up two members. Santa and Topless Riven are humongous tanks right now. Matsing realizing he's in a little bit of trouble, trying to kite away here. Cameron Jones coming back from the side, trying to help out his teammate. It's a good knockup, but interrupted by the bounce. And now he's trying to flash over the wall. Doesn't quite get it. Will fail that flash. Now Tiny Tanker's here, trying to clean up. The cell division passes, ifs drop. Tiny Tanker trying to focus down both at the same time. Can't really do much here. XMS Santa comes back up. Tiny Tanker realizing he can't fight this. No, he's actually going back in. Gets hit up by the knockup from Santa, and he will be dropped down. Unofficial ace coming down for XMS.
That was a great fight there. Beach Kings Gaming had the right idea going into that, using all their ultimates synchronizing all their ultimates together to be able to get the most damage that they could onto XMS there. At the end, though, when Tiny Tanker was kind of deciding whether he should finish off Santa, who was in his Cell Division passive, or if he should focus down onto Topless Riven on Nasus, he wasn't really sure what to do, and the fact that he kept changing between targets really hindered his ability to be able to really finish off one of those targets, and because of that he had to pay the price, and a death and no kills came out for that for him. We are seeing
Cameron Jones actually in a little bit of trouble here, walked into the bush with a trap in it. Enchanted Crystal are landing onto Kirito right by the Dragon, but XMS was able to pick that one up before Beach King Gaming could react. Cameron Jones was taking a lot of damage, so he was also forced to back away from that one as well. So another Dragon, second one of the game being picked up for XMS. They did pick up an early one using that Nasus's ultimate, Fury of the Sands. So quite early in the game, they did manage to pick up an early Dragon. And because of that, actually a lot of aggression going down here. Scorching getting landed with the Crescendo and the Wither. He doesn't have Flash right now, so he is in a little bit of trouble. XMS is using that command attack and will be able to pick up the kill.
Yeah, great job there by Hyrie to say, hey, look guys, I can use Crescendo, I'm going to catch them out, and we're going to get a kill, and that worked out for them. Squirt Stain was just a bit out of position. I see Elastic Slingshot go down.
Manihiki actually really out of position here. Let's Bounce now being used, forcing barrier onto Manihiki. XMS using a great command attack, and we'll be able to pick off another kill. Now Kenwin Jones trying to join into the fray here. Actually knocks up all three of the enemy, but realizes he's too low to fight this. Matsing now trying to go a little bit aggressive, using that Spirit Rush, but they don't have the damage. The enemy team is just too tanky, and Kenwin Jones is just too low. He's not very tanky at all. All he has is a Spirit of the Elder Lizard, so when he takes damage, it's a lot more meaningful.
Yeah, and right now XMS are just going to look to push on their advantage here. There is one member down from BKG, and it looks like they are just going to back off out of this one. They just want to take their advantage bit by bit. They don't really want to force onto it because BKG has a really strong catching ability with their team comp. That Enchanted Crystal Arrow could easily lock down a member from XMS for up to 3.5 seconds. And like we talked a bit earlier in Champ Select, the follow-up onto the Crystal Arrow is huge right now for BKG. So it's definitely not in XMS's best interest to look to force their advantage and put themselves in positions they really don't want to be in, because once they're caught, they're pretty much going to be locked down.
Oh my gosh, Topless Riven was actually had a ward down over by the blue buff and was walking down from his side of the jungle, and just before Matsing was able to come in and use his Orbit Deception to pick it up, Topless Riven flashed and used Smite over the wall to steal it away from the enemy team. So he did end up burning his flash, but did manage to deny a blue buff away from Beach King Gaming.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch that, unfortunately, but stealing away an enemy buff at any point of the game, it can be huge. It also can not be the biggest deal. A blue buff right now for Matsing would really help with his cooldowns during a team fight. It also could help him a bit with farming. We are seeing Kevin go down in mid.
Yeah, the Enchanter Crystal and the Crescendo going down, but Hybrid just melting. There's a lot of combination coming down here, but now Manihiki in a little bit of trouble here. Gets the Wither down. Stranglethorn's being used, but the knockup coming down from Tiny Tanker, knocking up a lot of people, but he's taking a huge amount of damage. Nobody can save him from the ace in the hole. He won't drop, and now the team is on the run. Let's Bounce being used. Knocking up 3 members at the same time. Flash coming down here. Kevin Jones has nowhere to run, and now, sorry, Zyro will drop down. Already in a horrible position, getting knocked down as well. And now Manihiki in a lot of trouble. Is on the run now, trying to use the slow from volley. Will be able to get away, but Flash actually coming down from Kirito. He does have a lot of damage. Now taking a couple tower shots, doesn't barely manage to get away, but Manihiki also forced to burn Flash, so
yeah, Zyra, Squirting on Zyra, and I was able to use that passive Rise of the Thorns to be able to pick up a kill onto XMS Sick there. And taking a look back at that fight, Tiny Tanker on Wukong went right back in to use his Cyclone to knock up 3 or 4 members of XMS. However, his team wasn't really in position. I'm not quite sure if that was either miscommunication or it's just the fight really didn't go in their favor. He went in and the rest of his team was not quite in position to follow up on that, and it ended up costing them. Right now, XMS does have a 12k gold lead, and they're in the driver's seat of this match. They can really continue to push on this advantage. They're going to want to keep up their ward coverage, as well as look to take objectives. Towers, dragons, barons, buffs, and right now, BKG has to be really careful picking their fight.
Crystal going down through the mid lane, so I thought it was actually going to hit, but no, it is whiff. So now that is a cooldown coming down. They are trying to push down this mid lane though, so it is getting down fairly low, but Kirito split pushing down in that bottom lane, so looks like they're going to be trying to trade a tier 2 for a tier 1. No, yeah. Actually, no, they're all moving down, so they are going to ignore that tower. Kirito realizing he's in trouble, going to be able to recall. We'll be able to make it out of there safely. Hybrid, is he going to be able to get away? Yeah, he does manage to get that recall up just in time, so they walk away safely from that one.
So, that was definitely what BKG wanted to do. It just didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow from Manihiki was looking to catch out Sick on Orianna and hopefully secure them and engage or a kill and then back out. However, it didn't quite land. That's the gamble that you sometimes take with that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. It is a relatively, I guess you could say, medium speed traveling projectile, so it's not the easiest to dodge, but it's not the easiest to hit either. So XMS Sick was able to see that, and the rest of XMS for that matter, and they were able to back out of that, and that is a cooldown down for Manihiki. Right now, it is sitting on a 90-second cooldown, so he's going to have that up relatively soon. It's about 10 seconds on it now. We are seeing an Oracle's being picked up from Hybrid here. He's just going to look to push the advantage that XMS has, and really denying vision from BKG could be huge for them right now.
Yeah, Manihiki kind of just hanging around his bot lane here. Hybrid actually trying to push him away from the tower, but no, the rest of the Beach Game Gaming is now down here to try and defend this tower. So I think we're going to be seeing an engagement pretty soon. Tiny Tanker is in that top lane, just recalled. Going to be trying to get back as soon as he can. So Kirito playing on that Caitlyn is doing a lot of siege, but actually the turnaround from behind here, Kirito's doing a great knockup, but then the huge wombo combo coming down, XMS Santa with the sick combo from the distance, just melting 2 of the members here. Now Ace in the hole going down onto Kevin Jones, will pick up another kill, and just, wow. Just a huge turnaround there with the Let's Bounce and the command shield onto Santa, comboed in with the dissonance, it just melted the team.
Yeah, that command shockwave from Sick was huge. That did lots of damage with the Let's Balance coming out from Santa, and I want to say that's what won them the fight. The combination of their ultimates there was able to lock down BKG long enough so that Kirito was able to sit in that back line, and he was able to get lots of damage off. He does have that Bloodthirster and the Phantom Dancer completed, and he's sitting on a BF sword and a pickaxe, so might be looking to build that into an Infinity Edge, and he is doing lots of damage right now. If you leave a Caitlyn at the back of a fight, and if she's allowed to do that sort of damage, that can be really bad for your team. However, I'm not going to take BKG out of this one at all yet. They do have a very strong team at getting to that back line. Kenwin Jones on Jarvan is able to use the Demacian Standard Dragon Strike combo to be able to get into that back line, and that Cataclysm is just going to keep him locked up. Kirito on Caitlyn, however, does have that 90 caliber net to be able to escape, as well as the flash if he will have that available for the fight. But then we have to take a look at Matsing on Ari, who's, with the Spirit Rush, is able to quickly maneuver herself to be able to finish him off if, with any surviving health that Kirito does have. I'm going to assume that the rest of the members of XMS Gaming rather, are going to look to get to that back line. Topless Riven on Nasus is going to want to use that Wither onto Manihiki so that his damage is going to be pretty much dropped down by about 50%. And that Wither can prove to be deciding in team fights. If the AD carry is not allowed to do damage, that's huge. The AD carry at any stage of this game can do lots of damage. However, when we're approaching the late game, that's when they really shine, and that's when they really want to be able to get their max DPS out. And Santa charging up that elastic slingshot, nothing's really going to come out of that one. And XMS is just going to look to push their advantage here. They don't have that Baron buff, but they have it warded up, so if they really did want to back off and go for that, they could. And it's really up to BKG right now to try and wave clear as best as they can.
Yeah, right now, actually, Manihiki on that, he's not as relevant as he would like to be by this point. He only just managed to pick up that Infinity Edge, and now he's working on his Zeal. But in comparison to the Caitlyn, Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, and Phantom Dancer, already done. So, by this point, he's nowhere near as relevant as this Caitlyn is. Actually, a lot of engagement going down. Your Topless Riven getting caught out by that Cataclysm, but the turret will now drop, and that was a flash being burnt. So now that is an ultimate down. That was a really key ultimate that Beach King Gaming needed to lock down Kirito, and now it's down. So that is a little bit trouble. A lot of aggression going down onto this inhibitor now. But no, it looks like they're going to back away from that. Not really wanting to take it out. Actually, but Matsing trying to go aggressive here. XMS is turning that around, doing a lot of damage. Now Flash coming down from Santa. Manihiki getting hit out by that. Nobody is here to save him from that ace in the hole. He will be dropping down towards that one. And now Squirtsy and Tiny Tanker have nowhere to really go. Kenwin Jones still not that tanky, and is forced to back away from this as well. It looks like they're turning their attention over to the Nexus. A Quadra knockup coming down from Tiny Tinker. All 5 of them actually getting knocked up by that Cyclone, but the damage output is huge. He can't stop this push. They're still fixing their eyes onto the Nexus. Kenwin Jones now coming back around, trying to get the knockup. They back away, and now they're coming back. They're trying to take down these Nexus turrets. Kirito is on the side. He's doing a whole lot of damage here. It's dropping down these towers extremely quickly here. None of the members of Beach King Gaming are back up for another couple seconds here. They're dropping this Nexus extremely quickly. It's back down to 25%. Squirrel Snake trying to come around, but no, they do manage to finish off the Nexus, and that will be game coming down for XMS.
XMS Gaming picking up the win there against BKG. And I like to think that they played that match really well. All their lanes did really well, and the pressure that came out from Topless Riven in that jungle was huge. So we're going to go ahead and